We are living in a world that does not want you to lock in. Everything around us is designed to distract from our creative talents being brought into the world. If you want to take the things that are in your mind and bring them into reality, you need to relentlessly rip them out while everything in the world focuses on distracting you. And the creative mind, whether it's the ADHD mind, the introverted mind that needs its space, the extroverted mind that needs people, is just not designed to deal with all the things that we deal with in the modern world. But locking in or not, right now, is the difference between living in that constant world of never enough, of chasing other people's dreams, versus beginning to unlock having it all. And by having it all, I'm never the person that said this is $1 million a year or you do X and you make Y. Having it all is about bringing your visions into reality, about living a fulfilling creative life, about being a kind of person who can act on ideas and who can work on ideas with others and get immense fulfillment out of it. That is much more powerful than money. It is much more interesting. And when pursued in the right way, whatever abundance that you want in your life generally comes with it. So in this video, we're going to hit how do you lock in? I'll start with why the time is now, because we are in this era of creators, social media, and marketing acumen that is very unique. And if you have any of the skills of that group, you are just ultimately qualified to be massively successful in this era. And then I'm going to hit how to shift your mind, because it is a battle, it is hard, but there are tactics that work to actually get there. And then I'm going to shift a bit to tactics to operate. For those who watch a lot of my YouTube videos, you'll see I have like extensive Notion docs on all the things that I talk about. I will go a little through the process and the organization that you use for things like that, and the process and organization you use to scale creative. It'll be an introduction to it, help you develop some creative process and what I like to call rituals, help you engage all those parts of your brain, of your ideas, the people around you, and begin to actually scale some vision to reality. It's going to be an interesting ride. So first, who am I to talk to you about any of this? I work on a lot of creative businesses. I work on only businesses that I find are interesting. And that ranges from a women's wear business I've worked on for years, to an engineering agency I've had for even longer, to, if you follow some of my more recent videos, a wellness business we just launched, my own kind of personal brand, and then a brand derivative of that I'm launching off of it, multiple brands I advise for. And then just over a long period of time, I've been able to work on just interesting project after interesting project. But the thing that has kept me both successful on social media and successful in this work is that I just continually ship. If I have an idea for a product, I know how to bring it into the physical world. If I have an idea for a design, I know how to get it on screen. I then know how to get teams to scale those things from there, how to create content after it that moves, how to launch a product from it and take money. And we've just refined those over just repetition and repetition, project over project. And over that time, as a CMO, a VP of marketing, a director of marketing, a creative director, I've just managed large creative teams. And even now, my whole life is run by a freelance network of people that I work with on some capacity to do X or Y. And so a lot of optimizing that life has just been about how do you make sure creatives are in their zone? Because it's not traditional management. It's not like the same one-on-one structure. There's just a lot of things that are just nuanced to people that have ideas versus people that produce constantly. But I've been doing it year over year, now almost decade over decade. And I think we can really break it down to what will work and just salve a great basis for so many of you. All right, that takes us to Chapter 1, why the time is now. Why do we need to lock in? Because it almost seems like a good time not to lock in. Everything is in chaos in the world. We have so many distractions that just sit there on the phone, on social media. We have amazing entertainment. We have a whole world of swiping left or right on dating at our fingertips. Why do we want to zone in right now? And my content is for creative. What I mean by creative, you might be in any kind of job. If you're an idea person, if you're a design person, if you like to create visual things, if you like to write, if you like to bring ideas to life, that is a creative person. And you may find that in almost any field. But a couple things make this period in time right now particularly special. The first is the creator era. Now, a lot has been talked about this, but you can literally transform your life in 6 months, a year, by participating in the online social experience. Why do I say that? Because I did it. I started making content on short form maybe about 20 months ago now. Within 6 months, I was making money off it and my life had transformed. Within a year and a half, my life now has everything I've ever wanted from it. And then working through Cut 30, I've seen it happen again and again with people, person after person, who begins to pursue that passion. It works for them. They have that right fit of the content they're making in the internet, and they're able to blossom into a lot more than they ever thought they could do. And this is a unique era. It wasn't always like this. If you were trying to grow on Instagram like this 6 or 7 years ago, that wasn't there. There wasn't TikTok. There wasn't all the same things. It was just significantly more complicated to do it. And at the same time, there's this infinite demand level, because not everyone is destined to want to be a personality, be a personal brand. But if you get the skill set for it, there's also this other side of it. That's that every brand right now needs a creator. And I'm going to touch on things that aren't specifically related to social media, so don't worry, this video isn't all about that. The marketplace for people that can create content for brands that will work on social media is like ridiculously massive. My friend JT has a whole service, Creator X, where he helps match brands and creatives. And if I was to tell him I have 100 creatives here that make content that's good enough for brands, I think he would be ecstatically over the moon to be able to have that much supply, to be able to bring to all the brands. And that's happening on short form. They need creators to be their face, creators to contribute to the ongoing efforts of the brand, to help tell their story and their narrative in a way that eventually gets sales. That's not even touching on what's happening from a long form perspective or an awareness perspective or the more interesting ways to approach these platforms. Because you can't just start a brand channel on YouTube and expect it to succeed talking about your product. You have to treat a brand channel the way I'm treating this. If my channel was a long-term psyop for a design software company, that'd probably be their best marketing approach, to go give a ton of value for free around a personality. But that's something that brands can't engineer in-house. You need to go find people who have the desire to go create like that, the skill set to do it, and some level of know-how and experience on how it gets done. And it's one of those things that if you are somewhat creative tangential and you begin to look at the tools, you start to pick up CapCut and learn how to edit and use the green screen effects, etc. You begin to edit your background, social media graphics and titles and whatnot in Canva or Adobe. You understand a bit of the distribution mechanisms. You can YouTube enough design to make good thumbnails. You can write some provocative captions. You can research hooks. You can archive. You can mood board. You have some of these tangential skills, even a few of them. You lean into it. You become, oh, this is actually a formula. It's easy. It's something that you can lean into and you can get some degree of success right away. If you're anywhat creative tangential, but if you're not near any of those things, you've never edited or tried to edit a video before, you've never captured something creative, you've never written something for the purpose of getting a response from someone else, this is entirely foreign. They can't do it. And all these archetypes of old, like the adage CMO world, they don't get it, they won't figure it out, and they are doomed to obscurity to be replaced by the people that get this era. So that is point one. You can capitalize on this. Not only could you build something for yourself, but you are now employable in a way that you have never been before and absolutely critical to brand success in any industry you want to place it into. And that ties very well into point number two, which is the marketing toolkit. You'll notice that there is not a ton of great performance marketers out there that are available for brands. People that can help scale your meta ads, people that can help crush it on social media. And if you ever wondered why that is, it's because at some point, everyone who's making money for other people, whether you're an agency or at a brand, and you're in the meta account and you're like, wait, I'm getting 3x return on ad spend on these campaigns because we've done X and Y, and I'm helping put these creatives together. And you look at the numbers are right there. You go, we're spending $600, we're making $1,800, we're spending $60,000, we're making $180,000, whatever that derivative is. And you go, that's not money I'm making. That's money someone else is making. And guess what? Making that product, that's a commoditized thing. Unless it's some amazing idea. And all of those marketers at one point go, I can do that myself, or I can partner with someone else and do it and have a huge ownership chunk. And that is why there are so few good people. And if you are in the skill set and you're still left in that bucket, there's a lot of young performance and growth marketers out there who's beginning to get the skill set. The faster you shift over into using that skill set to making the dollars for you, the better. It's setting the stage for one of those important jumps in your life. You have the hardest toolkit figured out, succeeding in our current era in the way ads and organic social work. If you have either of those, you are at the peak of your powers. And you combine that with the ability for a brand to come out of nowhere and grow on social media significantly, and this overall zeitgeist that whole generations have where they distrust the corporations we grew up with. They don't necessarily want to buy old school brand names. They're interested in new things. They want to build affinity to smaller brands. They're struck by interesting content. And you basically have this massive incumbent market of everything you've ever bought from any major brand that you can chip away dollar after dollar at and make that dollar for yourself in anything from water bottles to clothing to snacks, to electronics, almost any dollar that we spend in our lives. That opportunity is like too much to pass up. Whether you want to play a major role in it and bring all of your own ideas and entrepreneurship to reality, or you just want to say, I want to leverage myself to be in the most interesting scenario I could possibly be in, doing work that is fulfilling for me as a part of a larger team. This is the best era for that. So that's the stage I'm going to set before going into it. So how do you lock in? There's a really important book by an author named Steven Pressfield. Go on a quick Steven Pressfield rabbit hole. One of the things I like most about him is that he has a series of historical fiction. He includes Gates of Fire, which 300 is based on, a whole series on Alexander the Great, including one of my favorites, which is the Afghan campaign, which is about how Alexander the Great lost in Afghanistan, which is very relevant to how the US lost in Afghanistan, kind of the nature of the world. And he also wrote some nonfiction books, including one that every creative should read called The War of Art. This is a fundamental book for me and me locking in at the point I did in my life. And in this book, he breaks down very practically. The reason I talk about the way he's written before is I love to see someone who's obviously churned out so many amazing pieces of his own art, then put out a book where he's actually describing the process. I love the duality of that, something that I obviously do in my own content. And so in The War of Art, he breaks down this concept called the resistance. The resistance is every single thing going on in your life that's pulling you away from what you should be doing. And you can categorize it and you can view it as an end. It comes down to this innate human instinct that we've all been battered against, that we can't have anything be good or bad. We can't hate anything. We can't love anything too much. We have to make sure our opinions are appropriately whitewashed for the internet, when in reality, there's something that we should be fighting against every day. And it's in human nature to want to have an enemy, to position against something, to be combative. But if you put that energy that's kind of within you and you say, I am combative against everything that is holding me back, that is a massive foundational concept in your head that can take you a long way, no matter who you are. I would highly recommend reading that book. I'm going to use that concept of the resistance, which I'm going to play to every single thing that's in our lives. Every app that's on this phone. We've seen this transition, I feel like, is a good transition in content, where a lot of people are consuming less, I'm going to laugh, stupid content, and more value content. They're bookmarking it. I've had my success because of the value content marketing era, where people are saying, I want to save tips, I want to learn, I'm going to repurpose some of my screen time to things that are beneficial. That's a good thing, but it's just step one, because we spend these hours in a day. All the success that we could have is locked in our screen time, whether it's on the phone, or whether it's on Netflix, or whether people around us are sucking it out of us, or jobs are going too far and taking it from. We have 24 hours in a day that are basically being nipped from us piece by piece by all these people that want our attention and our attitude. So the first thing that you need to do is fight against this in every way you can. Some exact tactics that worked for me. Hardware advice I'm trying, called a brick, that helps shut your phone down. I had a case I was using until recently that was a weapon of mass distraction. I have it on the back of my phone. It's a mental reminder. There's an app called 1Sec where you can basically limit your social media time or force you to take a breath before you go into your social media time. Any tool that you can get, anything you can spend money on, $20, $40, $10, that reduces any amount of time that you spend doing bullshit is worth it. Run all of them. Force yourself to be on all of them. But you need to add that factor of you being conscious of where your time is going. Now, I would just write it out. Look in a day. Catalog your next 2 days. How long do you spend watching Netflix on your phone, doing things that didn't matter? Be conscious of it as option one, segment one. And then segment two is apply constraints. I'm going to show these graphics from Visualize Value, which really sum up the points we're going to make here. Is that you have all these ideas you want to bring to life. So many people do. And if you don't, you at least know that you do want to bring some idea to life. You just haven't defined it. But what's happening is it's too big of a thing. It's easier to go just open and scroll again versus saying, I need to define this. And so constraints are massively important. So this Visualize Value graphic basically has this idea that hasn't come to fruition on one side versus I'm going to finish one thing a day. And people ask me all the time, how do I do so many businesses? How am I involved in so many things? And it's because I am relentlessly focused on the one thing a day rule. Every one of my projects, I do one thing a day. They all move slower than I want them to. I wish some of them were scaling to the moon. I wish I had more time for the X or Y, but no matter what, for each one of them, every single day, I move one ball forward. I complete one task, one thing, pushes this closer to completion. And if you look at that same thing for whatever it is you're trying to do, decide on it, build a better portfolio, make a video on social media, launch your brand, learn how to be an illustrator, become amazing at tech packs, learn how to sew, master Excel, become a 3D artist, whatever. One thing a day. Ideally creating and finishing a thing. So you're applying repetition to the idea of getting better. This is how I got huge on short form video. One video a day, and I just never stopped. I started making it in the first few months. I got a bunch of videos out there that weren't that great. Eventually they started to crack through. A bunch of my friends started joining and working with me. I'm the only one that just never stopped. That's the difference between me and everyone from that era, is I'm the only person that stuck to a video a day throughout the entire thing. And that's why I'm the biggest of all those folks. Not because I'm any better or had any better content or any better ideas, but sheerly because of the repetition to take it there. So now we're fighting every ounce of where is our time wasted. We have constraints to act on what we need to act on. The last thing is establishing a contract with yourself. Because this is the big thing, right? So we all try to do shit. Every month I try to go, you know what? I'm gonna eat less carbs. I'm gonna really dial in my diet this month. Yeah. And I'm gonna get to X and Y. And guess what? I never hit it. And that's because I'm violating a contract to myself. I don't ever take it seriously enough to be like, I'm gonna sign a piece of paper to me or whatever physical incarnation that I want to actually put out there, lock in the world, says this is important enough for me to do it. It is obvious that that is not important important enough for me to actually do, because there are plenty of things that are important enough for me to do, is get the shit for my brand shipped, make sure my content comes out every day, make sure my weekly YouTube is live. Those things are important to me. I have made a contract with myself. I'm not going to let that shit fall by the wayside, and I'm executing on it. And there's some things where I just haven't gotten there yet. And you need to decide of the things you want to do. And I would just list them out. What do you want to do the next 5 years? Where do you want to go? Decide which of those are important enough that you don't want to violate the contract with yourself, that you want to lock in and you want to say, this is a thing I'm doing. And then now is the thing that you put your word on, that it is more important than your health, that it is probably more important than things that you enjoy and fun. You decide where that scale is. You need to basically say, this is more important than most of the things in my life to ensure I do this thing. And then you need to break it down to, what do you do every day? Because there is no, I'm going to do it once a week, I'm going to do it once ever. There is, how do I achieve this goal and move the ball forward every day? And you either commit to doing it at that level or you don't. So wherever you are right now, again, you want to start posting on social media, you want to build your portfolio, you want to become a better illustrator. What do I do every day? I do one t-shirt design every day, one 3D piece of art every day. I add one thing to the portfolio. I write one personal essay. Give yourself these blocks of, I'm going to do 20 of these. I'm going to do 100 of X. I'm going to do 90 of X. I'm going to build it into a habit, and I'm going to habit stack. I'm going to add another thing on top of it once I have one. Make the list of what those things are and act on them. And for people that are in these unique positions, like, hey, I'm a performance marketer. I'm at a company right now. I have a pretty good job, but I know I've been making a lot more for myself. Your goal is like, you're never going to make a change while you're comfortable. You need to put a plan into action, or else you're going to keep working at a place forever. If you go, I want to have my own brand to take advantage of this, or I want to be, I want to move from being a social media assistant in a place that doesn't matter to a creator where it's somewhere great. Like, what is your 90-day plan? And I would just break it down to, my goal is to do X. I'd list that out, a backlist. What are all the things that have to get done for me to do that? And then you kind of list that, break down into tasks. Like, to ask this person, do this, a massive list. And you go and you say, all right, how many things are on this list? 65, 90, 101, one thing per day. List that out. I believe in myself that I'm going to do it. Cross it off until it's done. This is locking in. And for creatives, we are taught in so many ways that we need to wait for the ideas to come, that we need to put the art before the algorithm, or that we shouldn't be thinking with that part of our brain, or we shouldn't be alpha in one way or the other. You are, for lack of a better term, the fucking wolf in this scenario. And you need to do these things to get yourself where you want to go. And the last piece that we're going to hit on here is the how. I live my life in Notion doc, kind of example here. And the important thing to do when you're doing something like this is to have a place to put your tasks and your references in your project. So for every project I do, I put everything in one place. I put all my references into a place. I put all the working ideas I have, all the written things that are actually happening. And then at the top, this is where it's crucial. We actually have the things that are going on in the project in a table with what the responsibility is, what the next step is, what we're waiting on, and some level of tracking and accountability for who does what next. And then right below that, every single one of these is just a checklist, just a to-do list of what are we crossing off. You can do this in any software you want, but if you literally have all of your references, all your working ideas, a table of the things with some accountability and what the next steps are, and then a to-do checklist, you're going to be able to accomplish an awful lot. Add a calendar on top of that of what's actually happening day by day, so you can go look at Thursday or prep for tomorrow or whatever to know what the actions are. And then you can start color coding things by person if you have a bigger team. You can tag and all that. That's why I like Notion for this, or reference other documents. You are beginning to build a command center for how you tactically execute a thing. So for instance, if you were saying, I'm going to build a social media presence for my brand, you're building this out, I would begin to scour the internet for references. What are other brands? What's content they make? I would have a goal of putting 50 references of videos of styles you'd like to do inside of this doc. And then I'd look one step further. How do I actually do that? I don't know how to do this. I'm going to get, what are the things I need to have tutorials for? I need to be able to make this effect. I need to be able to use CapCut to do that. How do I do this punch in? How do I light my videos? What mic do I need? I would put all those questions in there and then begin to add in resources. It's now a to-do list for me to watch. When I add in those to-dos, I'll go out to my checklist and I'm going to go, all right, each one of these, I need to learn how to do blank. That's now a thing I can check off. And then you're going to go to, all right, I'm going to make a plan. I want to be able to start making this video by this time, this video by that time, and begin to think of what are the realistic dates with which you can learn the things that you want to learn, begin to do some drafts, and to actually publish, and begin to overlay that on a calendar. And every video that you're going to do becomes a line in your table. Where are you at? Does it need a script? Do you not know enough to do it? What is your next step? And you can look at that from anything, building a design portfolio, launching a brand, designing t-shirts. Begin to have this framework here. We can go look at your entire project. And this is a great framework to apply to client work because they can see exactly where you're at. All the things are in one place. They can look at calendars. They can look at who's doing what, what's waiting on them versus what's waiting on you. So you can use this format in a lot of different ways. And you can begin to build it in your life. And the last thing I like to look at is like what's repeatable. Do you want to put a segment in somewhere where you're saying, hey, every Monday I do this. Every Tuesday I do this. Begin to build what I like to call rituals because I don't want it to be like a schedule. Creativity is not about a schedule. It's about a thing that you do. Like Sundays, I always prep my week ahead. Saturdays, I always shoot these YouTube videos. focus. Mondays, I'm usually putting together a lot of the written work I do for the week and like organizing it out. And these are things where, you need to get in the right frame of mind. You need to make sure all certain things are prepared. And that's why I like that ritual concept. We're like, yeah, you know what I'm going to do first? I'm going to get my sparkling water. I'm going to get my cold brew, take this supplement, or I'm going to do whatever. I'm going to make sure I exercise first. I'm going to create the environment where my head is in the place to execute this. I'm going to put that in the calendar so it happens every week so that my creativity falls on some type of schedule. And there will always be time where you can have open time or things will come to you or not, but aren't able to just freewheel it. Having those structures in place is critical. I know this is a little bit of a different video than many that I've done, but I do feel like if you're at that point in transition in your life where you just haven't been able to lock in, where you're just continuing to lose it and pock away, this is the kind of thing that you should save and come back to remind yourself this is a once in a lifetime opportunity from a timing perspective to be able to leverage creative skills, to then know that, hey, I have some tools I can go to block my screen time, to make a contract with myself, to remind myself why I need to win. And C, there's a framework with that I can go set up and manage my time, begin to execute on some of my goals. This dude on the internet has literally just given me a format to be able to go put those things together. And all I got to do is open whatever document, Google Doc, Notion Doc, Monday, ClickUp, fucking doesn't matter. I can go do that. I can begin to put my plan in place, follow a structure, and I can begin to act on it and get better. And if you just do that one thing a day, you are so much more locked in than so many people out there. And you are that step closer to chasing down whatever it is you want to do. Thank you for watching.